welcome to our live video series. Today we're going to take a look at the 2022 Kia Sorento. This happens to be an SX, and we're going to compare it to the Kia Sorento PHEV, which happens to be an EX Plus. They're both dirty. I apologize, but what we're going to do is go through some of the key differences between these two vehicles, because I continue to hear from people that are ordering that PHEV based on only seeing this vehicle here, and I just want to make sure that people have an understanding of the differences between these two vehicles and some of the pros and cons of owning one or owning the other. So I expect this to have a few less views than some of our other videos, so that should be available for more comments for you. And if you're not watching live with us and you just want the content of this video, we are live, so you can skip ahead to the 3-minute mark if you want. If you skip to that 3-minute mark, we'll start the content there. If you stay with us for a second, I'll show you how to join us, and we'll talk about some news and some notes, and we'll go from there. So let me just jump in over here. This is our YouTube channel, and we have this sort of video down there. There I am talking, but in a totally different video. If you refresh the page at exactly 2 o'clock Eastern time, you can refresh the page right here. Then you will see that the live video takes over that space. You click into that live video, you'll have to watch a quick little ad. While you're watching that ad, I'm gonna run an ad for the dealers that are represented by this channel, which is Brantford Kia, Brantford Hyundai, and Owen Sound Hyundai. They are the three dealers that support us, and if you're looking for a car in Ontario, they can help you out anywhere in Ontario. You can connect with me. There'll be a link in the description underneath this video as soon as I'm done, and they'll sort it out and get it ready for you, or help you out and get these cars to you. And yeah, I don't run great ads. This is what I do, guys. I just talk. All right, so we've got about a minute to go. Ioniq 5, Kia, Hyundai, it really doesn't matter right now. We're hearing a lot of stuff about stopping of ordering, and we're hearing of delays and that kind of thing. And when your salesperson calls you and says that your vehicle is going to be delayed, be patient with them. There are some delays now that have come up that we weren't expecting. There are some other sorts of situations where sometimes ordering has officially closed for a model year or for a section. And what that means is that we in most cases, we can still take your name, get your thing, but we can't officially place your order with the company in some cases. So basically what I'm saying all of this for is when you go talk to your salesperson, and hopefully it's our dealerships because it just makes it easier for me to communicate clearly with you, there's going to be some odd situations that are not normal, and we're trying to figure them out for you as well. So we're here to work for you, work with you, and just be aware that there are situations that we have to work through and see what those situations mean, and a couple of those happen overnight, so without going into a whole lot of detail, we'll just move on from there. If you're a regular with us, do me a favor, guys, hit that like button. If you could all hit it together right now, it'd be amazing. If you're not regular with us, then go ahead and I'll try to earn your like as we go. All right, here we go. We already got to go. Electric heat in the PHEV other than seats. Oh, we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's flip the camera around for just 1 second here. This is the Kia Sorento SX. This one is a sold car, and you're saying, why is it dirty if it's sold? Didn't you have time to clean it? Well, the reality is that even with a sold car, we have people coming in and having sometimes to look through the interior of this car just to see what it's like. So I wasn't able to get this car until seconds before because one of our regular viewers came in to see us and look at this car. So it just finished being shown to a customer, and that one was on the road seconds ago because right now, inventory shortages. So I didn't have time to clean them, but we do have time to do a video on them, and that's what we're going to do for you. So let's talk about first what we're going to. So here's the goal of this video. Let me just make that really clear. There are key differences between these vehicles, both in function, in looks, in a whole bunch of things, on the way they work, the way they look, the rear seat space, for instance, and some of them are a little bit different, so we'll talk about that. And I want to make sure I point those out to you so that you have an understanding of which compromises you're making on each one, gasoline versus PHEV, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And I also want to make sure that you're aware of, basically the differences, and we're going to go through all those. So stay with us for a second as we go through some of the similarities, just really quickly. First of all, pricing, just so you guys know, again, this doesn't really matter, but the Sorento gasoline is what we're looking at, and the top trim line is the 2.5-liter turbo engine, 281 horsepower, 311 foot-pounds of torque, and sorry, that's an EX Plus. Let's go one higher. There's the SX. Pricing for this vehicle is $48,095. Now, one step down, the EX Plus in the PHEV is right over here, and PHEV EX Plus. So then again, if you go the same vehicle as we're looking at, $54,995, but the one we have today is $50,595 for the EX Plus model. So SX gas, but more money is the PHEV in the EX Plus. One of the key differences you should keep in mind is the PHEV in Canada right now has a $2,500 government rebate. So that $2,500 applies to the PHEV only, bringing this a little bit closer in price, and actually probably almost very close to the exact same price between these two. So really, realistically, you can kind of cross shop these cars, and for lack of a better exact example, you're going to be basically the exact same price point or very close to the same price point. Both of them are equally affordable if you're in that price range. All right, really quickly, Sorento. This is the SX model. There's your key, has a remote start. Here's the identical key on the PHEV model. It also has a remote start. So really quick, one quick difference. When you're remote starting these cars, in the summertime especially, it's very possible that that car does not start, that the engine does not start immediately. So that you will see on the PHEV, but you can start it. What I don't want anybody to do with a PHEV is remote start it inside your garage, because at any point, even in the summer, that car can start its engine, and of course that would be carbon monoxide fumes going in your house. You don't want to do that. This car, of course, same idea. Now, technically, they do have safety settings, so if they sense that's going on, it can it's capable of turning itself off, but I don't trust that technology yet. I don't want to start gassing out my house and hope that my car turns off in time. So don't remote start these in your garage, but both can be remote started, and that would be a different function depending on what goes on, because this one over here, the PHEV, may not run the gasoline engine, which is something to keep in mind. Power-wise, like I said, 311 foot-pounds of torque over here, 260 some odd. Oh boy, you know what? Totally slipped my mind. I was talking to another customer before I went out, but you have a little bit less power in the PHEV, and you have the 1.6 liter turbo engine here and a 2.5 liter turbo here. So that 1.6 turbo is enhanced by the electric motor, and of course a PHEV has a fairly powerful electric motor, which will allow you to run even at highway speeds on pure electric power. So a PHEV plug-in hybrid, if you don't know what they are, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but the idea is you can plug it in, get pure electric range, and that allows you to have that pure electric range allows you to go even up to highway speeds, but about 50 kilometers or so in ideal weather. It'll be a little bit less in the winter. This one, of course, just a regular car. You fill it with gas. That one you fill with gas as well, but this one has no option to plug it in. Now, I just want to show you fuel mileage as well, because let's just put it all out there. Fuel mileage, 2.8 liters and 3.2 liters right there. That's what the website says. To be fair, the gasoline car, you might do a hair worse in town. I can beat that or be equal to it on the highway. PHEV fuel efficiency numbers are tough to kind of put into real world terms. Can you accomplish those 2-point-whatever liter per 100 kilometer fuel mileage range? Yes, I've driven this car for half an hour and had that exact mileage on a fuel efficiency, not a fuel efficiency loop, but a fuel efficiency testing loop. So it didn't drive it for efficiency necessarily. I think I got 2.7, 2.6. There's a video of me doing that in this car. So you can absolutely get those 2-point-whatever liters per 100 kilometers. But what you need to keep in mind is, on this car, once you run out of that 50 kilometers of range, you're going to get around 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers, 7.2, 7.3, low sevens. So that means that even if you never plug this car in, that car is going to get better mileage than this car. And that's one of the big misconceptions. People think that once you run out of range in our PHEVs, that it just gets worse mileage anyways. Well, that's not the case. It's still a more efficient option for you. It's just exceptionally more efficient when you can run on pure electric. That is not the way all of our competitors work. Some competitors, once they run out of electric range, actually get worse mileage than an identical vehicle that isn't a PHEV. I'm looking at you, Chrysler. Jeep's 4xe Wrangler is well known for that. The 4-cylinder Jeep Wrangler gets better mileage than the 4xe if you're not plugging it in. So just something to keep in mind. This one's still better mileage, and there we go. So let's just quickly jump in. What I'm gonna do actually first is go rear seat and rear seat, because there is some differences there that I wanna point out, and I'm gonna be able to try to show it to you on camera here. Both keys are in my pocket, keyless entry, keyless, simple to operate. So this one here, you have the captain's chairs. Let me just jump in for a second. And as I do, I don't know that the driver's seat is set for me, so don't worry too much about the driver's seat knee room area. One thing that you're gonna notice, and this is one of the common things that I have with other dealers who are putting you into the gasoline car and going, yep, same thing inside. If you look at my legs right now, well, I'll try to show you right now. Whoops, come on, there we go. My leg is just slightly raised off this seat. It's fine, like if I set it to the side there, it's comfortable, but if I just go square, yeah, there we go. If I just go square, so we'll go exactly square, knees touching. You can see I just come up a little bit off of this seat here, and I don't know if you can see it here as well, so I do. My toes are just starting to touch the seat in there. The floor in this vehicle, especially for this middle row seat, is slightly higher. The floor being higher means just a little bit less toe room and a little bit less comfort. Not bad, but just a little bit difference in the rear seat. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, speaking of comfort, I can still recline these seats. When I look above me, I still got the big panoramic glass sunroof. I've got heated seats in this trim line in the EX Plus. I would have the same thing in the gas. The gas one has heated seats in the SX, of course. But there is a difference there in the rear seat. So let's just jump over across to the gasoline model. We'll do the same thing in the same seat, just so you can see how much difference there is, at least on my 6-foot frame. And again, I don't think this will make a huge difference to a lot of people, but if you're exceptionally tall, it might be a real thing to consider. This one, of course, has red interior. And again, ignore how close the driver's seat is to, I'm just gonna put this back a little bit. Ignore how close the driver's seat is to my knees, but knees touching, right? So with my knees touching, my seat is flat. So I was kind of like this on the last one. And there, and part of the difference is my toes. If you look at my toes there, I can slide my whole foot underneath that seat. So by sliding that foot forward, I can create a more level area. But even all the way back, the floor is a little bit lower, a little bit more comfortable here. So if you're exceptionally tall and you're going to be sitting in the second row of your Sportage, or sorry, of your Sorento, just something to keep in mind there. So PHEV seat frames are shorter. Yeah, that's kind of the way it is. The seats themselves seem to be the same to me. You can recline, you can do the same thing, get the sunroof. It seems to me like the headroom is kind of similar in both, but the floor is a little bit raised in the PHEV, and that's going to play a little bit of a part in your comfort in that vehicle. So while I'm here, just take a quick peek. We do have heated seats. One thing I really like in both these cars, just while I'm here, is you have these nice little blinds. These cargo blinds are, if I can hook them up with one hand, there we go. They are, oh yeah, it looks like you can totally see it. So when I'm looking through here, let me just see if I can flick the camera around here. It looks very dark here. Yeah, I mean, it's almost black when you're looking that way. So really have a good tint to the window here, unless you're looking straight out. The camera actually adapts quite well to make it look brighter than it is, but it does really tint the window. And one of the big benefits of that is not so much on the inside. That's how we always talk about it, that's how we always think about it. But if you had precious cargo in here or anything else, it's also very difficult to see inside these rear tinted windows when these cargo blinds are up. And like, you can kind of see the difference there. The camera still adapts quite a bit, but it is quite a bit of shade in there, which is kind of nice. You can still see, but it's you know, harder to see. And because of the perforations that come through straight, if the sun's on an angle, it will really take that shade or the sun away from you. And those of you wondering about the glass panoramic sunroof, you do have this little panel here, which can electrically cover the entire panoramic roof. So it basically looks like a car with no panoramic roof at all. So you can really kind of close off this area from the sunshine and you know, some of maybe the extra heat that comes in, or just for some privacy reasons. All right, so that's one big difference. Now let's just talk about the dash. Now, the problem is I don't have the same trim lines, but we're gonna show you the dash as well. We also have to talk about some exterior differences, which we'll do in a second. So in the dash, this one here is our gasoline model. So red interior is gasoline model. This one happens to have a digital dash. Not everyone's gonna have that. The EX over there does not have the same dash. But regardless of the dash, you still have dials here where you have a speedometer and you have a tachometer. So that's something to keep in mind. Basically, all of this is the same. There'll be some software differences for the PHEV that'll give you some information, but everything here is the same. We've talked about that in other videos. We can talk about it more in this video if you like, but I just want to kind of quickly show you tachometer in here. This one happens to have the full digital gauge cluster, but the information is essentially the same in both these trims. But just giving you a peek at the tach before, and that cluster can actually be changed in different styles. So let's just take a quick look again at the PHEV, because you're going to have some different gauges here that you have to make sense of. And we've driven this car in the snow just the other day, and I think people really appreciated that video about how the all-wheel drive system works, so you can talk about that as well. So in this model here, no tachometer. So again, a little bit lower trim line, so different information here. A lot of this information that's here is the same thing, that digital dash in the last car. But you can see this gauge over here. This is an important gauge to look at, because when you start the car, I haven't started the car, this off button is going to go up to that line there, right in the center. When you brake in this car, you're going to be putting some charge back into the battery, and that's what this needle is going to tell you. The needle is going to drop down as you're braking, and if you brake lightly, it's going to be in this area. If you brake firmly, it's going to go down here. If you brake really firmly, it's going to max out, and then your wheel brakes will take over. So it's always going to use regenerative braking. So basically it runs the current instead of the battery running to the motor to the wheels are going to go to the motor to the battery. So basically it puts charge back in your battery when you press the brake pedal, or even when you're coasting. Even coasting, you'll see it sit in this sort of range here. But when you brake, you're going to do that. This saves the brakes that are in your wheels. It's a very good thing. It regenerates some extra power. It's all around very good. When you're driving, you're going to be in this eco mode for most of your normal driving. When you get to this dotted mode, pretty much for sure when you're in that range, almost all the time, that's when your gasoline engine is going to come on as well, even if you're in full electric mode. So what I mean is you can set this car to run in a fully electric mode for up to about 50 kilometers if it's fully charged. At that point in that electric mode, even if it's fully electric, if you need full power, for this car to make maximum power, it's going to blend electric power with your gasoline power, right? Because why would you just keep the gasoline engine off when you floor it? So if you need full power and you floor it, it will give you gasoline motor as well, even if it's set to the EV mode. And this gauge gives you a little bit of a sense of when that's coming in. So if you're on the highway and looking to pass, if you're sitting up around here, once you start dipping into here, if you're dipping in there, it doesn't always turn on, but pretty much always turns on right there. You can do all of your normal driving in this section, including highway driving, but just something to keep in mind, if you could dip into that range, you're going to be turning on your gasoline motor. But again, remember, we talked about that at the beginning of this video. Even when you dip into your gasoline motor, it is going to get you better fuel efficiency than that other car would the way it is. Now, let's talk climate control. This is the big controversial thing. When I turn the climate control on here, in the summer, if it's air conditioning, you're probably still going to run purely electric for most of it. When you need heat, our engine is going to run. And people have a hard time getting their heads wrapped around that. They should do it different. Other systems do it different, this and that. Sure, other systems do it different. Maybe they should do it different. But you didn't get a full electric vehicle. You did get a vehicle that is a gasoline engine. So there's a couple reasons they want your engine to run when it's cold. Think about when we're getting on the highway. If you need that full power, if you need to accelerate past that transport truck, it doesn't want to have to, for the first time, start a gasoline engine as you're heading into highway speeds. So when you require heat from this car, for the most part, it's going to be running heat off the engine. There's a PTC heater in here which can help defrost windows, that kind of thing. But for the most part, you're going to run the engine to run the heat. Now, as we showed in our PHEV video the other day, where we took this car out in the snow and talked about drive modes and living with a PHEV in the winter in a snowstorm, you should really check out that video. It's a good video. I think so. I've been told it's good. But when we drove that car there, you could see that even though we were revving the engine, giving the throttle, the power was going up, but the engine wasn't necessarily picking up speed. So sometimes in the winter, that engine's going to run to help you with heat, to help keep the engine warm, but it's not going to really work super hard and still get you great fuel efficiency. When you drive a PHEV, spend less time worrying about when the engine's running and more time worrying about the overall fuel efficiency, and I think you'll be quite happy with it. So just keep in mind, if you do want to play the game with the temperatures in the PHEV, you can sit there and turn the system down just a little bit, and then instead turn, or you can go driver only mode if you want. That can also keep the engine from starting by, once the car's up to temperature, now only the vents are blowing on the driver. And then you're gonna use this little function right here, the seat heater, and you're gonna use this little function right here, the steering wheel heater, to keep your fingers and toes warm and your rump roaster on. And that can sort of help you hypermile a little bit and basically eke out the best mileage. Another quick trick to use with hybrids is once you reach the speed you want to go, if the engine's running still, try releasing the gas fully and then touching back on. Sometimes that tricks it into, in the hybrid mode anyways, which is once you've run out of range, sometimes that can trick the car into turning off the gasoline engine, running for a longer stretch on pure electric. So just a couple little tips to keep in mind. If you are unsure about a PHEV, here's what you need to know. Get in, put it in gear, and drive. That's it. If you Are we still here? Okay, there we go. So yeah, get in, drive. If you want to plug the car in, you can plug the car in. That's not a problem. And that will obviously help you. But if you're unsure about the technology and you think this is way over your head, get in, put it in gear and drive. That's what you can know about this car. The other thing to keep in mind though is if you're going on a long road trip, the fuel tank on this car is smaller. I believe it is, oh boy, I think it's 42 and 62 liters. I think I'm right on that. So there is a smaller fuel tank on this car. For 99% of your driving, that's not gonna make any difference, but if you're on a longer road trip with this car, I think this one's gonna get probably a little bit shorter overall kilometers than this one if you go on a highway road trip and you're driving efficiently in both. I could be wrong based on that because again, that's 7.2 liters versus the, what is it, 10 or 9 or whatever. But that one might have a little bit shorter range on a highway, which isn't the end of the world, but for 99% of your driving, you're probably gonna get more mileage out of that. There are people that drive PHEVs that actually never get fuel for like an entire month. They go a couple thousand kilometers by just using the electric, using the electric, using the electric. So that's an option there with the PHEV. All right, we're gonna go through the exterior differences in a second, but I'm gonna take your questions and I'm gonna beg for likes. We got about 81 people on right now. We hit 50 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 80 likes. So let's go 81 likes. So do me a favor, guys. If you haven't hit the like button, let me earn that like from you right now, and we'll see if we can get to 80 likes. I'm gonna go take your questions right now, and then I wanna show you some exterior differences. First time here. Hey, Nikki, welcome. First time here, cool. All right, going back to the questions here. Feel like setup, ooh. Oh, so somebody says they think the BMW i3 is the best compromise. I don't like the i3, I've driven it. I think a lot of people that drive it are not super impressed with it. They used to have a motorcycle engine in there, which helps charge the battery. It seems on paper like the best option. I think most people would agree that's not the best option for real world. So if you don't know that car, don't worry about what we're talking about. Okay. Somebody said you can, they're responding to someone else, but one of our regulars here says you can decide where you want to use the electric range. And that's a key piece with the PHEV. If I want to, let's say I have 50 kilometers of electric range because I plugged it in, I can use that from the start. That's the default position. I leave my house, it goes electric if it can. What you can do is save that 50 kilometers of range. So you're gonna get that 7.2, 7.3 liters per 100 kilometers. That's the official number-ish. You can average that until you wanna get someplace, and then you can switch it to electric mode. So if you just wanna show off to your friends, you can do that. If you're going to a campground, maybe you wanna creep through the campground on pure electric, you can do that. If you're going to the city of Toronto and you figure that, hey, I wanna make sure I save when I get into traffic, I save the electric range for that, you can do that. So you can save the electric range or you can use it right away. The battery will charge through normal driving, right? Yes and no. So the way the battery works is picture this being the entire battery. And let's call this much of it over here the hybrid only battery, and the rest of it is plugged in range. The way ours works is it will run out of that plugged in range, and that's not really able to be recharged. In theory, you could probably put it in sport mode and get it to recharge a little bit. It's not really designed to do that, and you would be wasting fuel to do that. So basically, you're gonna have this much battery, this much of it is gonna be plugged in. And then this last section here is going to be the hybrid portion. And this is how it gets you that 7 point whatever liters per 100 kilometers, is what it does is it drains and fills as you're coasting, braking, as the engine's running, that kind of thing. And you'll find that even when you've run out of electric range, you might be able to go for long stretches on pure electric power. When you come to a stop, it doesn't have to run. When you pull away from a stoplight, it doesn't have to turn on the gasoline motor. Even if you're out of that electric range, just that last little bit. And there's actually a gauge that looks very much like this. This much of it is one color, and then there's a blue section here or a white section. One section is blue, one section is white. And that last 1/3 or last little bit of the section is your hybrid battery, essentially. And that can be charged while you're driving as well. So somebody asked about sounds of nature. We have that. PHEV has a PTC heater. Oh, you know what? I said it does because most of our cars do. I should double check the specs on that. I thought it did, but you could be, the way you're asking that with the big question mark, yeah, I remember there was one car that we were surprised that didn't have it, and maybe it is the PHEV. It might not have it. So not the end of the world. The PTC heater, really what it does, it helps you defrost the windshield a little tiny bit quicker. You're not feeling a lot of heat out of that. It's just, so yeah, I think you're right though. The gasoline might have, the PHEV might not have it. I could be, you might have caught me on that. You could be correct. Do PHEVs make the warning sound when driving forwards in electric mode? Yes, anything that's running on pure electric mode will make a soft noise. Now I've heard, particularly from Americans, that some of these backing up, beeping noises and other noises are very, very loud. I have not heard the same complaints in Canada. So if you're complaining about, or if you hear about a very, very loud noise on these cars, I would say it's probably not the Canadian cars. It could be other ones. Lithium ion polymer battery or lithium ion? Oh, that's a good thing. I think it is the lithium ion polymer because that's what we have in our EVs. The specific chemistry is not something I touched on before. So You guys are really stumping me today. Usually I'm a little more on the ball than this, but I do apologize. I'm reading the questions that I shouldn't be reading is what I'm learning. Does using cruise control on the highway help or hinder regeneration? Makes no difference. On the highway, it's going to do its thing to rev and coast and that kind of thing, the regular hybrid part. Again, we're talking about once you've run out of electric range, so not a whole lot of difference. I find my typical use case in a hybrid, and maybe this is because I'm a bit of a nerd and I understand a little bit more about how they work than some people would who are driving it, I can usually eke out a little bit better mileage with it off cruise control than on cruise control. But some people say cruise control is better, and that could be. But the hybrids are a little bit, you can, if you drive just slightly more efficiently in a hybrid, you're going to get a significant benefit. Whereas if you drive slightly more efficient in a gas car, you're only going to get slightly more efficient overall. So there's ways to play with that there. Okay. This may not be relevant to this models, but I purchased a 22 Kia Soul thanks to you. Oh, awesome. Cool. Thanks, Nikki. All right. I should have merch. Okay, Michelle, I should have merch that says what? She's laughing at something I said. It says I should have merch that says that. We'll have to see what she says. Okay. Is there anything else I missed? You know what? Let's just keep moving on to the outside and coming back. So when you're looking at the outside of these cars, again, I totally apologize for them being dirty. Just in case you're just joining us, this car was just being shown, at least the inside of it, to a customer, so I didn't get to steal that away until just before the video. And this car was out on test drives today, so again, I didn't get a chance to clean these cars. But one thing that is different in these PHEVs, first of all, the wheels. These are 19 inchers. You have 20-inch wheels on the regular gasoline model, and you don't really have any option. These ones are black here, they're gray on our X line here in Canada, and then over here you have this style wheel on our hybrid or PHEV, and it's 19, not 20-inch wheels. So the wheels are right away different. The other difference here is this, and I'm going to try to show it to you, even though it's dirty. This is a textured plastic. So you can see the textures there, right? So this textured plastic area is a gray in color, regardless of the color. This happens to be a gray car, but this is a gray plastic, non-painted piece, and that runs up around here and underneath, if we stand back a little bit here, it is underneath that line there and up around there. And that's a gray plastic painted piece. You cannot get this piano black piece, which I'll show you here, more of that mirrored finish, piano black, which on this car runs all the way around and underneath there. You cannot get that on a PHEV right now. Interestingly, these cars, if we look at the first digit of the number, is a 5, I believe, yes. 5XY, this one will be a K, and this is something to keep in mind here. The K number there is for Korea. These cars are not made side by side. Even though they're the same, the PHEV is a Korean-made car. This is an American-made car. And that's, in my opinion, some of the differences between the trims. They're not made on the same factory. They're not using the same parts for one or the other. This is a totally different factory for these two cars. Overall, in front, very, very similar here, you'll see. Still have the piano black trim over here that carries through. On this higher trim levels, you have these nice, the top end LED headlights, which we could turn on later for you. Actually, we'll probably just not do that today. And then on the PHEV here, again, same exact thing. A little bit of a difference where that one's got some piano black just on the lip here. This one here is not piano black, it's more of a silver trim. But very similar, some piano black around here. Again, wrong color car to show you this, but piano black in there. Fog lights on here that are the same as the fog lights in the other vehicle there. And let's just check the back side as well while we're here. This wood here is silver trim here and silver trim there. You'll see over on this model here, you've got the black trim there. Now, interestingly, this here is a more brushed aluminum type look. You can sort of see it down here, where on the other, the gas model, you have a dark chrome kind of look to it, so a little bit of a tinted. So quite a few visual differences on the sides here. Come along to the back again. Just show you here, no exhaust pipe visible on the PHEV. You do have a badge here that will say Eco Hybrid or Eco Plug-in, and that's there. But coming over here, a little bit more of the piano black continuing around here, where that one in the same exact spot has that matte gray non-painted finish. So there are some significant visual differences between an SX and EX Plus gas model and an SX EX Plus, for instance, PHEV. Those are key visual differences. The other thing I should point out, roof rail silver up here and black over here. Both of them have the same panoramic roof, similar interior features, that kind of thing, but the exteriors are definitely different there. All right, gonna go back to your questions here. Let's just take, oh, you know what? There's one more thing I should show you in the trunk. Let's just show you the trunk and then I'll show you take your questions. So as we pop the trunk, both of these are power up. Ooh, nobody wants to look at me. Power tailgates here. So again, underneath the trunk there is where that is. I could touch the button. There's a lot of ways to open the trunk. Let's go to the Sorento over here. Both of them are 6-passenger vehicles in this case. This one, of course, has the plug there. I'm gonna get that out of my way for a second, or that's your charge cord, your level 1 charge cord. Over here, you have a jack here. There's essentially your underfloor storage. This is a 12-volt battery over there, because every car has a 12-volt battery still here. And then the only real space you have is you could pop that panel out on the left here. This can be lifted up and popped out, and this whole section could be lifted up. I suppose you could sort of dip your charge cord in there if you wanted to, but there's no real underfloor storage there, and that's something to keep in mind because, again, there's not a ton of storage behind these rear seats. Certainly not a family's worth of luggage behind these rear seats if you're using all the seats in there and you're going to the cottage or something like that. Down here in the gasoline model, a little bit different. There is still the jack there. It seems to be a little bit lower to me. And then there's a decently deep area here because the 12-volt battery for this car is underneath the hood. So just another little thing to keep in mind. A number of little differences between these two cars, aside from just mileage and engine and other kinds of things. So we've done a whole bunch of videos on the Sorento. To be honest, I didn't plan on doing it today. I was hoping to get a carload of, or truckload of cars today. It didn't come. But I did think this is probably a good comparison between PHEV and gasoline. If you want to know more about the PHEV, just watch our channel. We've got a whole bunch on there. We'll pull it back in here again in the next little while as well. And same thing with the gasoline Sorento. But in the meantime, let me see if I can take your questions. Do we get the blinds with the 2022 EX? Oh, in the we'll have to check the specs. The EX Plus for sure. The SX for sure, but I'm not sure if the EX model has it. I know that the X line does not have them. So the EX is one car I'm not sure. You guys are stumping me left, right, and center today. All right. Okay. Oh, the merch that says rump roasters. Okay, that would be fun. I think we should do that. Okay. All right. I just ordered a PHEV on Saturday, and Kia aren't building dealership stock on the PHEV. Yeah, so dealers say a lot of things. They say, oh, we're not going to get any stock of these things. The reality is I think Kia would like to give us stock of these things, but these cars are popular enough that they're going to sell before they sit in stock. So to say that there'll be one around for a test drive, unless you're like us here at Brantford Kia that keeps one around for test drives, you're right. You won't probably see them as stock. I don't think there's a hard, fast rule that Kia says, we're not giving you guys stock units of these. I think what they're saying is the majority of these are going to be sold units. Now, to prove that, the car I'm looking at today is our stock unit. It's the one we're using to sell off of right now. So there is that. Is the black plastic trim on the AX? I think you meant EX. Different. So EX and above have that. Yeah, the X line has a different plastic trim. So yeah, the piano black. Yeah, that's EX and above on the piano black. So there we go. Any news on the release date for the Sportage 2023? No. I think it'll be here March-ish. We've already got like 8 or 9 of them on order, but I think we're going to see them probably first week of March at this point. So I don't know if that's a release date as much as we should have them here. The Canadian International Auto Show, the Montreal Auto Show, they've both been canceled due to COVID. So they were going to use that as sort of a launching point for that car, but it's not obviously there. With EVs, it's advised not to jumpstart other vehicles. Is that the same with PHEVs, or is it okay with them? I think if I had to in an emergency, I would be comfortable jumpstarting a vehicle with the PHEV. I don't think you should use that. There's enough non-PHEVs around. If you have jumper cables, don't use your PHEV. It's just there's a lot going on there. So I think you could. I don't think you should. It's like do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. If you had to, you probably could on a PHEV because it has the battery in the PHEV has enough amperage to turn over the starter. Oh no, it wouldn't turn over the starter. It would be the electric. Yeah, I don't know. I think you could, but I wouldn't. So let's just go with don't do that. Okay. All right. Why is Sorento Santa Fe PHEV limited to 3.3 kilowatt charge, yet the Tucson PHEV is 7.2 kilowatt? Don't know. I'm not sure if all those specs are fully correct. I think it would be the same. I haven't spent time with a Tucson PHEV yet, so until I spend a lot of time with them, I tend to not do as much research into the specifics like that. But I have heard that question before. Maybe it was from you. I'm not sure if that makes a real difference to us here, or if there's an international spec somewhere that's different in North America. So I'm not sure. SX black trim, plastic or paint? It's plastic. We're talking about the SX, so just to make sure we're on the same thing. SX black trim. So when we're talking about this right here, this is a non-painted piano black finish. It's a plastic thing, and it's the same thing with like around here and the other spots. So that is not at least I wouldn't call it a painted finish. It's more of a decorative plastic than a paint. Hopefully that makes sense. If Sorento didn't come stock with red interior, would Kia be willing to convert the interior? No. You need to order that red interior. This one happens to have red interior. If you want it, order it. And you're going to be probably ordering a Sorento anyways. You're not going to just walk into a dealer lot and buy it. So if you want it, order it in the color that you want. I think we're going to leave it there, guys. We're probably hit a long enough time that we're probably too far. We hit 81 likes exactly, and that was our goal. So thanks for doing that. What we're going to do tomorrow, tomorrow we're going to go Hyundai. Actually, I'm not 100% sure we're going to do Hyundai right now. So we'll tune in tomorrow. If you want to know what we're doing, you can always jump on my Instagram. So Instagram is Peter Kia Hyundai channel. So there's underscores between the words there. So just go to Instagram, follow me there, and we'll always let you know in our story what we're doing that day. And we'll go from there. So thanks everyone for joining us. Hopefully you found this a little bit useful. Again, definitely not entertaining. Definitely not entertaining, but hopefully informative enough. And I do appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.